I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. Listen, healing through writing. Oh my goodness. You're probably saying, okay, how are we doing that? Listen, God will help you to heal through writing. If Moses wrote the commandments and Jesus wrote in the sand, and so many other instances of writing was in the text, then there's an opportunity for you to heal through writing. Today, we're talking about 3 techniques that you can use to heal through writing. I'm going to share my screen so that you can pick up all these techniques. I'm not going to be before you long. Again, I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. Many of you watching this are probably thinking to yourself, okay, tell me a little more about what Writing on Fire is all about. So I'm going to do that. If you are here, let me know that you're here. Tell me what type of coach you may be if you're present watching. If you're not a coach, and let's say you're watching this and you're saying to yourself, I need healing. I know I'm broken in some areas. I need God to move on my behalf. Then put some purple hearts in the comment box. Just let me know that you're present. All right, Writing on Fire. 3 techniques that you can use to heal by writing. The 3 techniques that I will be covering today is Royal Mirror, Genesis to Exodus technique, and then the All is Well technique. Before I jump into these techniques, I want to give you a little bit of background, right? So Royal Mirror, what in the world is that all about? Well, in order to really grasp what that's all about, we need to look at some facts. So the first form of a mirror was invented in ancient times. It actually was a small pool of water filled in a dark colored container. Would you look at that? The ancient mirror was you looking at your reflection in water. If you think about the scriptures, the Holy Spirit is indicative of water. So right now we're looking at a reflection in a man-made mirror, but the original mirror, we were looking at a reflection in water. How do I see myself in God? How does he see me? That is essential to you operating as the royal queen that you are. So the first form of a mirror was invented in ancient times. It was a small pool of water, and there was a dark colored container so that you can really see, right? The next aspect about mirrors that you should know is that mirrors can reflect sound waves. So in World War II, Great Britain used that in order to detect the sound waves of the enemy. Mirrors can detect sound waves. They can reflect it, right? Glass is the main component of mirrors, and it's actually a poor reflector. Now, I'm going back to what I said the first time. The first form of a mirror was you looking at your reflection in water. And this is according to Action Glass, right? So if glass is the main component of our mirrors today, and it is a poor reflector, meaning that it only reflects about 4%. 4% of what you see, that's it. So there's so much in you that you need to see beyond. So if we're going to use the Royal Mirror technique, that means that we need to embrace the royal us, embrace the king or the queen that God has called you to be, embrace the child of God that you've been called to be. That means you're able to operate and flow in authority. So you're going to need to look into that mirror and see beyond what you see. If the mirror is only reflecting 4% of truth, you need to see beyond what you see in the mirror. So in order to use the Royal Mirror technique, when I was dealing with the intensity of the depression from last year, right? Last year, 2020, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. You know, I can go on and on about that. There were some blessings in 2020 and there were some great hardships. For me, in 2020, in February, I lost my grandmother. This is the grandmother who raised me after my mom died of AIDS when I was 7 years old. This is the grandmother who poured entrepreneurship and so much stuff into me. And then she passed in February. Well, October of 2019, I was married. I met my husband through Facebook Messenger. We had about a year and a half courtship, and we had this wonderful wedding in October of 2019. And then here we go, a month after my grandmother dies, my husband died from COVID-19. We were only married for 5 months. I was devastated. I remember the intensity of the pain. Sometimes I didn't want to open the curtains. Sometimes I didn't want to get out of the bed. I remember the tears that were flowing. The Royal Mirror technique, what I did was I would look myself when I decided, okay, I dealt with my issues. And the reason why I'm talking about rediscovering your identity, because my faith was shaken. I'm like, okay, you know what? I've been praying. I was anointing my husband. I'm praying that God will heal him. And God, you didn't do it. And what God shared with me was, wait a minute, hold on. Just because healing didn't look like what you expected doesn't mean that it did not manifest. Healing came in a different way in which you expected. But I still heard you, but I also heard my child. Sometimes we expect God to heal somebody the way we want them healed, but we're not understanding that God is Father, not only of just you, but also of them, and you don't know what their prayer was. So sometimes when I'm talking about this royal mirror technique, I had to look myself in the mirror. I had to go through a period of repentance. I had to remember who I was in God, and then decide to embrace the royal aspect of me, the royal me, the queen that God has called me to be, to rule over this flesh, right? So you need to look in the mirror and see beyond what you see if you're using the royal mirror technique. So I looked myself in the mirror, and when I saw brokenness, I spoke the opposite. When I saw weak and I saw I'm depressed, I spoke healing. I said I was on my healing journey to wholeness. I didn't even call it, I'm just broken down. I didn't call it that. I'm on a healing journey to wholeness. You have to speak the opposite of what you feel and what you see, because remember that mirror only reflects 4%. All right, so that's if you're using the royal mirror technique. The second technique that you can use to heal through writing, and as far as the mirror technique, you can write, you're going to write on the mirror what you see as well. Okay, you can erase it so you can write it. As far as the next technique, let's move forward. Genesis to Exodus. This technique, in order to heal by writing, you have to remember the importance of adding. Joseph's name means may God add, right? And when I'm talking about going from the beginning to going out, I'm going to need to add. I need to make sure I appreciate the good and the bad. You're going to need to appreciate the good and the bad with regards to your circumstance, with regards to the loved one. Sometimes when we're broken and we're hurt, we only focus in on all the wonderful things about whoever the relative was. We focus on all the wonderful things. We don't look at any of the bad things, and then we say, oh, woe is me. I want to be with them. And you don't understand that there was some other hardships. There was a balance with regards to the issue. And so, sometimes being with them could hurt them in the process. Maybe them leaving at this time was the best thing for them because they were struggling internally, and maybe God heard their cry and heard their heart. We need to appreciate the good and the bad. If you're going to heal, you need to look at the total picture. You cannot be blinded with what's going on. Because I desire to heal, God, I'm on this healing journey to wholeness. I need to see everything with regards to the loss of my husband. I need to see everything with regards to the loss of my grandmother. So with regards to my grandmother, what he showed me was her struggle. Like I didn't want her to leave. I'm praying to God, asking God to heal her on this side of glory. You know, I'm asking God, Lord, give me more time with my grandmother. He reminded me of the time in which he did give me more time. The doctors told her that she was going to die in 2011. My grandmother died in 2020. So guess what? They were proven wrong for over a year. I want to say it was about 2 years. They could not find a heartbeat with her. She would tell everybody about her testimony, how God healed her. But at the same time, I watched her struggle. I watched her in her struggle to walk. I watched her in her struggle to still stand for him and do the different things that she desired to do. So we got to appreciate the good and the bad. If you're going to heal through writing, you need to appreciate the good and the bad. Write it down. This is where I'm encouraging you to get a sheet of paper and write all the good things that you see about that person, the wonderful experiences that you had about that person, right? Write all the bad experiences, because we're letting go. If we're going to heal through writing, we need to write it out. Kings and queens make decrees. Kings and queens make decrees. Decrees are written. And whatever the queen or the king seals, that's it. It is done, it's settled, right? So if we're going to heal through writing, we're operating in the authority that Christ has given us. So appreciate the good and the bad. Take you a sheet of paper, write all the good memories, incidents. What did things smell like? What were the places? Where were you at the time? Who was present? All that stuff is written down, the good and the bad. That's important. The next aspect of the Genesis to Exodus technique is the dear loved one. For me, I had to write a letter to my husband, but dear Vincent, right? Write a letter to my husband. Okay, for you, I don't know who that person is, but you do. So who is the person that has left you that you are still mourning, or that you still desire them to be present. Dear, and put their name there. Names matter. Names make it personal. So you're going to write dear and loved one. And in this particular letter, I want you to write everything that you desire to say to that person. I mean, everything. It doesn't matter how long this letter is. The importance is that you get it out. Stop holding on to unforgiveness. Stop holding on to pain that God has given you the authority to transcend. And one aspect of you refusing to hold on to that is actually writing out how you feel. So we're going to write out how we felt about how we feel to that person, the things that you desire to say to them that you cannot say because they have gone on to be with the Lord, or they've left. You can write those things in your dear loved one letter as well. And again, this letter, it doesn't have to be one page. Don't limit it. Oh my goodness. Too often we try and control our healing. We try and control how long we're going to cry. We try and control how long we're going to talk about something. But guess what? If you're going to use the Genesis to Exodus technique, and you're going to go from the beginning of the time in which you were talking with this person and they were in your life, and you're going to go to how you're leaving this situation, you're exiting this situation, you're going to need to take the time to properly heal. And sometimes that means that you're going to need to really write for extended periods of time. So maybe you need breaks. That's fine. You don't have to do this dear loved one letter all in one sitting. Your life experiences with this individual didn't take place all in one day. So your dear loved one letter can extend over time. Your dear loved one, and for some of you, it could be, you know what, I don't know if I want to do a letter. Okay, your dear loved one could be a Facebook status. Listen, when I was dealing with the intensity of the depression, I didn't want to write any more books. I'm an author as well. I didn't want to write books. Forget write books. That's how I felt. And people are like, when you write another book? Oh, this is going to be a book. And I wasn't trying to hear it at all, because at that time, I'm just simply trying to live. I'm trying to get up from this position of despair. And I'm not thinking about a book. I'm not thinking about who these different messages. And I wind up blessing people, but that wasn't my intent at the time. My intent at the time was to heal, because I remember how horrible that feeling of brokenness was, the intensity of it. And as a matter of fact, it was so intense for me that, according to my doctor, my mind went back to a place where it was happiness, right? Because I experienced what they call a hysterical pregnancy. So after the loss of my grandmother, then the loss of my husband, I start having these different symptoms of pregnancy, right? Having these symptoms, all these different symptoms of pregnancy, taking test after test, no baby, right? But then I started showing. So I'm showing as if I'm 6 months pregnant. So now I'm going back and forth from doctor to doctor, because I want them to tell me what in the world is going on. And for what they said, the last doctor I went to, let me stop there. The last doctor I went to actually put in for me to have an ultrasound. I had the ultrasound. And the ultrasound shows no baby, right? And so what she said to me was, listen, this is an issue of the mind. Again, I'm your mindset coach. This is an issue of the mind. You're going to have to heal the mind first, because the mind is impacting the body. Some of you are dealing with immense stress because we haven't taken the time to heal. And if you're going to utilize the Genesis to Exodus technique, it's going to cause you to take that time to heal. So I start dealing with my mind, right? I'm dealing with my mind. My bishop, my pastor, they're helping me deal with my mind through the scriptures. I'm crying out to God. Since I finally got an answer of what was going on, I'm dealing with my mind. According to them, the mind went back to a place where it was happy as well. My husband was only 39 years old when he passed, and I was also 39, right? When we first, before the wedding, we were talking about having children. Neither of us had children. So after the immense depression and the breakage, my mind went back to, oh, we were having children. So then the body started producing all this excess gas and all these other things that cause pregnancy symptoms that caused me to appear pregnant when I was not. So if I'm going, and what I had to do was I had to write a letter. Dear Vincent, I had to use various different devotionals and other things that dealt with the mind. I could talk about that at a later time. But this dear loved one letter needs to be real. You don't have to put on airs for anybody. This is about your healing, not anybody else's healing. They have to go their own route to get healing. This is all about your healing. So if you're going to write dear loved one, nobody else has to see this letter but you. This is important for you to get it all out. So whatever you needed to say that you didn't get a chance to say needs to be in your dear loved one letter. When you're finished with that, there's other things that you can do to solidify that you're done. But I want you to write that letter. We're healing through writing. The next aspect of this ad is dear me. Dear me, why do I need to write a letter to myself? Listen, I had to write a letter to myself, and I had to read that letter out loud in the mirror to remind myself of who I was in Christ. I'm going from the beginning, I'm going out. I need to remind myself of my position, because in order for you to walk in kingdom authority, you have to remember who you are. Also, I had to forgive myself. For me, I was so upset because he kept saying, you know, baby, I'm going to stay, I'm going to heal here. Again, this happened in March of 2020 with regards to COVID, and you couldn't just go to the hospitals and all of that type of stuff. No, they were recommending you stay at home, you know, you do the different natural methods to try and help yourself and all of that. And we were told that our symptoms were not severe enough to get the test. Well, my husband was dropping significant amounts of weight over a week's period of time. He was barely eating, he's barely walking. I'm telling him he needs to go to the doctor. We're calling the doctor and they're telling us your symptoms are not severe enough, just continue to stay home, right? Well, I just got fed up with that. After the last stumble in the hall, I saw him stumble and struggle in the breathe. I just called the EMS. But, you know, it weighed on my mind. What if I called the EMS? What if I ignored all his statements and called the EMS in the very beginning when I noticed how sick he was? I also was dealing with my own issues with sickness. I found out later on that year in August that during that time frame, I also had COVID because I got a test so I could be an extra in the movie Dear Future Husband. So I got that test done, right? And they said, oh, you had, I got the antibody test. Oh, you had it. You had to have had it in the past. I'm like, okay, that's what I was dealing with. I remember being sick with that for like 60 days, struggling, right? But my husband lived with that for 12 days. But guilt, sometimes when we lose a loved one, guilt tries to take hold. But guess what? You do the best that you could do with the information that you have at the time. So in order for you to heal through writing, you're going to need to write out a letter to yourself, giving yourself grace. God issues you grace. Sometimes you need to issue grace to yourself. So dear me, I forgive you. You did the best with what you could do. You were listening to your husband. You were being submissive, if you will, and you did the best that you could do. Love on you. Dear me, you're getting up from here. Your dear me letter needs to empower you to rise after this fall. So you need a dear me letter. All right. So that's our Genesis to Exodus method. Woo! Last but not least, y'all. Last but not least, if you are going to heal through writing, you can utilize the all is well method. In order to utilize the all is well method, you need to remember to serve. You are a servant first. You need to remember to serve. So the first thing that you're going to need to do, if you're going to use the all is well method, is start from where you are. For me, starting from where I was simply getting up and pulling the blackout curtain open just a little bit so that the sunlight can come in this room, right? For me, starting from where I was just simply getting out of bed and taking one item of his out of the room. The room was in chaos. Because how many of you know when you're dealing with issues in your mind, the natural also reflects what you're currently going through mentally. But if you're going to use the all is well method, you need to start from where you are. Every small step is immensely valuable to you healing through writing. So start from where you are. Another aspect of starting from where I was simply writing a Facebook post. I would put a post up about a happy memory, something I remember with my husband. And then I would sit and try and think, what was the good thing that came out of that? What lesson did I learn from that interaction? And then I would post the lesson learned. And I would go and reread that Facebook post all day long while sitting in the bed, right? I'm bawling, I'm reading it, but I'm trying to remind myself that the good things that occurred. I'm trying to remind myself of how there's still some benefit. I'm trying to remind myself of the fact that although he died from COVID-19, COVID-19 still failed because I was still blessed. What is it that you need to remind yourself of? What blessing have you received in the midst of going through this struggle? What is the light? Let me tell you something. In the scriptures, it says the evening and the morning was the same day. There's darkness and there's light in the same one day. At midnight, it's pitch black outside, but there's still some light present. You got some stars present. You got the moon present. Light is always present, even in darkness. So if you're going to start from where you are, you need to search for the light. The next thing that you're going to need to do with regards to the all is well method is embrace the royal you by offering yourself some grace. I remember saying to myself during this time, that's enough crying. You know that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Why are you still crying? What are you doing? And I had to stop. There were people who loved me that reminded me of the fact that you are still human. You're worthy of grace. Your process is your own. It doesn't matter how long it takes, honey. Tears are cleansing. In fact, the scriptures tell us over and over again that they that sow in tears will reap with joy. You're sowing now, but you are going to reap with joy. Just continue to move forward by embracing the royal you and offering yourself some grace. The next aspect of the all is well method is remember the good and the bad when writing. Now, we talked about that same aspect when we looked at the Genesis to Exodus method. You're going to be able to use these letters, this good and bad analysis that you have here. You'll be able to use that when you're writing your story. For more information on that, you'll definitely talk to me. You can talk to me a little later. We could talk about the From Thought to Plan workshop, but you'll be able to use those. Next, visualize a healed future. If you're going to heal through writing, you need to visualize the end. Right now is not where you're staying. You're not staying here. I had to consistently tell myself, I'm not staying here. This is not my birthright. Depression is not my birthright. I'm not staying here. I can get up from here because of who my daddy is. Now, in order to do that, you have to remember who you are. That's a part of rediscovering you. Visualize a healed future. What does it look like? I created this vision board. Now, I normally create a vision board once a year, but when everything happened, because on my vision board, I had stuff about my husband and what we were going to do and all that type of stuff, I needed a new vision board. You are a queen. You can create a new. So I created a new vision board. And on top of that, creating the new vision board, I put only 3 different things. I wasn't doing a whole bunch of stuff. Just could not do it because, again, I'm trying to start from where I am. I'm working on embracing. Let me not say I'm trying, because trying, the word try, I do my best to avoid that. The word try to me means that there's something in you that feels there's a possibility of failure. So we don't try, we do. We do our best. So start from where I am. Visualize a healed future. What does it look like? You probably need some sort of visual component to see it every day. See it consistently. It needs to be before your eyes. And last but not least, entreat others to join you on this healing journey to wholeness. You are not an anomaly. You're not off on an island all by yourself. We were created to be interdependent on one another. That's why you're an aspect of the body, which means that we need each other. And treat others to join you on this healing journey to wholeness. During the intensity of the depression that I was experiencing, I reached out. I am a licensed clinician, but how many of you know that it would be immensely foolish for me to operate on myself? Let's say I'm an open heart surgeon. It would not be wise for an open heart surgeon to need open heart surgery and perform it themselves. Even the licensed clinician needs to go get somebody else to counsel them during this type of immense period of time. So I went and got my own therapist took the time to heal, and now I'm in a position to be able to help others. Healing is an ongoing process. You could be healed and healing. If you think about what happens, let's say, for example, maybe you were in an incident and some bones were broken, but at the same time, some other things happened. You had some scars and bruising. Maybe it was a car accident, whatever the case may be. Some of the scars on the surface may heal, but the pain in the inside is still working itself out. So you may look healed and still be broken, but at the same time, there's an aspect of healing that has taken place. So healing and heal, you can be healed and healing at the same time, but make sure you entreat others to join you on this healing journey to wholeness. I hope this has blessed you. If these different techniques have blessed you on your walk to heal through writing, and or maybe you're saying to yourself, you know what? I just need a little bit more. I get it. I get the techniques, but I need somebody to help walk with me through this. Help is available. I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope through identity discovery, and they are also making sure they're healing through writing. So if you're interested, there is a group writing workshop that I offer. It's intensive now. It is intensive, but by the end of that, there's so many things that you will have. Not only will you experience some aspect of healing, but you will be able to identify what time you have available to write. You're going to be able to know what your title is. You'll be able to walk out so many other different aspects of writing your story. It's powerful. It's a 3-hour workshop. It's available October 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're interested in that, it's only $997. But today only, if you like to register for that, you can register by midnight for $7.99. You can click this link here, and I look forward to working with you. Again, I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I look forward to working with you all. Have an amazing day, and let's heal through writing. Bye-bye.